So Google just released Gemini 3 Pro, and there is a ton of hype behind this model. It's multimodal, which allows us to process both images as well as text, but there's some significant changes with this model. For example, temperature is essentially no longer required, and now we have two new options, which are going to be thinking level as well as media resolution. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how you could set this up within n8n. We're also going to cover some of the technical specifications about the model and test them, such as the knowledge cutoff date. And then we're going to go over a few different examples that include image analysis, extracting information from text, as well as summarizing data and text. Really quick, before we do jump into this video, if you guys want to join an awesome network of people that are interested in improving their AI as well as data skills, to land them new freelance customers, to upskill at their current job, or make their business more efficient, I have a free school community down below. I'm super active in that group, and I would love to have you be a part of it. All right, let's jump into Gemini 3 Pro. So first thing is the knowledge cutoff date. The official documentation says January 2025. I don't believe that this is fully accurate. I think the knowledge cutoff, just based off of testing for a few hours, is probably either in October or November of 2024. So I'll show you guys some examples when we jump into n8n, but it actually couldn't answer a few questions for stuff that was released in November. In addition, we have our context window. So our input and output, our input is 1 million tokens, which is insane. But as papers have shown, even though that these models gloat that, hey, we can take in all of this context, it's not always the best approach. So if you have a very large document, I wouldn't really recommend putting that in there for 1 million. Like, that is a giant amount of information. And chances are a lot of it will be missed, and you're just going to be priced on it. The output is going to be 64,000 tokens. Pricing wise, so we have input and output pricing over here. Obviously, input is cheaper than our output, but you can see if it's under 200K tokens, our pricing is $2 and $12. If it's over, you're paying a bit of a premium, double with the input cost, and then you're at 18, so 1.5 times over there. So not only are you going to get typically less accuracy on that side of things, but it is more expensive. And I do have the documentation down below over here if you would like to check that out. So a few new different parameters that are available for you. The first one is our thinking level, which controls the maximum depth of a model's internal reasoning process before it produces a response. So Gemini 3 treats these levels as relative allowances for thinking rather than strict token guarantees. So if you don't specify a thinking level, Gemini 3 Pro is going to default to high. There's low, medium, and high for our thinking level. Again, I'm just grabbing this straight from the documentation. Media resolution. So this is pretty cool. This is based off of the vision processing via the media resolution parameter. High resolution improves the model ability to read, find text, or identify small details, but increases token usage and latency. The media resolution parameter determines the maximum number of tokens allocated per input image or video frame, because it can process video as well. A little bit outside the scope of today's video, but no pun intended. So you have media resolution low, medium, as well as high over here. And if unspecified, the model uses optimal defaults based off of the media type. So this is a big change. And historically, we've used temperature quite a bit, and temperature is now set at a default value of 1. So what it says over here in the official documentation, while previous models benefited from tuning temperature to control creativity versus determinism, Gemini 3 reasoning capabilities are optimized for the default setting. Change the temperature setting it below 1 may lead to unexpected behavior such as looping or degraded performance, particularly in complex math or reasoning tasks. So super important that you do not tweak temperature. It tells you right here, do not change it. So please do not change that. I've seen a lot of n8n workflows in the past that have changed this, but do not change your temperature. Okay, so this currently breaks tool calling in n8n. So this is called thought signatures. So Gemini 3 uses thought signatures to maintain reasoning context between API calls. These signatures are encrypted representations of the model internal thought process. So kind of going back and forth like, hey, we need to do this specific task. To ensure the model maintains its reasoning capabilities, you must return these signatures back to the model in your request exactly as they were received. So n8n cannot do this as of today, 11/19. I assume that this is probably on top of a sprint for their developers just because of how much hype this model has and the fact that you can't use tools in it. So if you're watching this in the future, 100% that n8n should have fixed this by now. But and I'll cover this probably in another update, like a part 2 of this video. But right now, tool calling, you can't do it with Gemini 3. Marks associated with it, there's a ton. So if you want to check that out, I always just quickly glance at these benchmarks. All the AI companies will gloat some benchmarks that show their model is the best. And you always hear this with every promo. So if you want to check it out and see what benchmarks were achieved with Gemini 3 Pro, check this link over there. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going forward. And lastly, where do you get your API key? And I'm going to show you how to do this in n8n. So aistudio.google.com. So we're going to actually head to that website as well as open up n8n. So this is a good time to go over there and let's get started with this video. All right, so this is our Google AI Studio. All you got to do, click both of these agreements and then click continue. Then what you'll see down below is we have get API key. So we go over here. And then what we're going to do is create an API key. So what you're going to also do is go to get API key and click create API key. Put a name for your key. So I'm just going to say n8n tutorial like this. And then you can select a cloud project. So I'm just going to say create a new project, n8n tut like that. That's fine. I'm going to create a brand new project over here. And then I'm just going to click create key. Okay. And then all you want to do on this one over here is just grab your API key like this, copy API key, and you should be good to go. Now, what I will say is you have to set up billing because there is a price associated with it. So make sure you set up billing over here. I'm not going to go through the billing side for this video. I will set it up on personally before I jump in, but make sure you guys set up your billing. I just don't want to leak some sensitive information. Regardless, once that is ready to go, we'll jump into this workflow, but set up your billing because this is paid and we'll jump into it. One last thing I want to just make sure that you guys have in your n8n instance. So if you click this icon over here, make sure that you're on the latest version of n8n, just in case this model doesn't show up. So make sure to update. Now I've already updated my instance, but just click over here, update, and just follow the prompt to update. After that is done, let's jump into it. So first thing we're going to do is show you 3 different ways that you could utilize 3 over here. The most common is going to be an AI agent. You could also use the native Gemini node. And if you want to specifically use some of the new options and parameters that we talked about, you're going to have to use an HTTP request. This probably won't be used that often once this is updated here in n8n, but just because it's brand new, I'll just show you this and it's honestly not that hard to set up. So first, let's talk about our AI agent. So if you're brand new to AI agents, just go over here, search in AI agent. What we're going to have to do also is set up our chat model. So this is where we're going to find Gemini. So what we're going to do is click this plus icon, and then we're going to search for Gemini. So you can see over here, we have Google Gemini chat model. So click on that over here. Then what you're going to want to do is set up an account. So what I'm going to do is create a brand new credential for you. And then what we're going to do is grab our API key. So this one over here, and thought I set up billing. So you can see we have a quota tier 1. So the billing is set. I'm going to copy this API key over there, drag this back in, and then paste it in. And I'll just name this. I'll say n8n Gemini 3. I probably wouldn't recommend putting this as Gemini 3 as a name, but just because it's for this tutorial, I'm just going to save it like that. And then it's going to say connection tested successfully if you already have that set up. So you are good to go. All right. So we have that built in, and that's essentially it over there. So that's our first AI agent. To go into Gemini itself, you can see there's a lot of options. If we go over here and search in Gemini, We click this in, you can see there's 11 actions. So you can analyze audio, transcribe a recording, analyze a document, upload a file, analyze an image, generate an image, edit an image, message a model, analyze a video, generate a video, download a video. So this is all within Google Gemini. Let's just use the basic one over here, which is message a model. So that's a text action. And you'll see that we have this built in. And all you have to do is link up that account that we just created. So it says credential to connect with. We just built out this one over here, n8n Gemini 3, and that is created. And again, there's so many different options for resources: audio, document, file, image, text, video. Custom API call is just going to tell you to build out this HTTP request. So I'll show you how to do that here in a second. Then what you have this option over here is to choose a model. So I didn't actually choose a model over here, and you can see it's 2.5 flash. And I didn't choose a model over here yet either. So what we're gonna have to do is look for Gemini 3. Now, unfortunately, the only thing that I don't really like with n8n is it never has the newest models at the top. So I always have to scroll, but you can see Gemini 3 Pro preview, and it's on the preview version right now. But then you're gonna click on that, and that is set over here for the model. The same thing happens if you use this over here. So just scroll down, look for Gemini 3, and you'll find this in the Gemini section, and then we select that over there. So those are two approaches. So you could use the native Gemini nodes, or you can use an AI agent and just add in this chat model over there. In addition, there's an HTTP request. So to do that, we're just gonna go over here to HTTP request like this, and we're gonna set this up here in a second. And then all you gotta do for the HTTP request, so down below, in this documentation, you'll see that they give us examples in Python, JavaScript, and then also REST. And you see it says curl over here. Well, curls are super easy to import in to our HTTP request node. So just click over here and copy code sample. We're gonna go back into n8n, and then over here to the top right, import in curl. And we're gonna import this in. So we have a header parameter, which it says X Google API key, and then just ask for your Gemini API key. I would highly suggest that you just remove this from here because this is a security concern, especially if you are going to share a workflow with someone. And then we also send a JSON body. So this has text, what is in this image. We have image over here, and then we have a media resolution level, which, as you saw, was one of the new different parameters that we could set up. This is not available currently. So if we go over here, you can see that there's no option on that. And maybe you're like, oh, this is an AI agent. Maybe we need to go over and take a look specifically at the image side, which is analyze an image. But you can see over here, there is no option for that right now. So again, I expect this to be here in the future, not right now. But yeah, you can go through over here in the documentation. You can take a look at these parameters if you want to add them specifically in. So with that out of the way, I showed you three different approaches. You can use the AI agent, which we set that up. You can use the Gemini node, which we have that over here, or you could also go and set up an HTTP request. And again, what I would recommend is you remove this header parameter, you save that. So that way, if you have to use this HTTP request multiple times or you share it, it's not hard coded in over there. So with that out of the way, let's jump into our first example, which is going to be using an AI agent. And we're going to ask it 3 questions. I'm doing this to specifically test the knowledge cutoff date, as well as something a little bit tricky to see if we get a hallucination or not. So this is a little bit of a tricky question. What is the longest ultra marathon in Florida? My first time testing this, I got a hallucination, which is awesome. We'll see if that happens again. Our second one is who won the 2024 World Series. So this is based around baseball. The World Series is played in October. So we want to see if this has been trained through that October data. Lastly, what is the latest Opeth album? I want to say this was released in November. I could have chosen a band that had an album release in December, but we'll see if November works. This again says January 2025 knowledge cutoff. So let's test all 3 of these. So what we're going to do is just open this chat. I'm going to clear these out, and we're going to start off with what is the longest ultra marathon in Florida. This should be a 200-mile ultra that actually just took place last weekend, but it's been around for a few years, and we'll see. The other hypothetical because it is kind of vague. It could be like a 72-hour race or a 48-hour race, because they do have those that people just run around the track, or a loop of some capacity. So that is technically a valid answer, but I'm hopefully like they don't get the 200 answer. I forget the exact name of the course, but it's you run across the state of Florida, which is kind of insane. All right, so let's see. The longest ultramarathon Florida is known as the FX or Florida Extreme 500. I've never heard of this. So it's a point-to-point race that starts in Jacksonville Beach and ends in Key West. Self-supported race. So maybe I want to say it's non-self-supported. Here's an honorable mention, longest timed event. So there's a 6-day race. And then, yeah, I've never heard of these over here. So let's actually see if this is a thing. Like you can see there's nothing on it. This has to be a hallucination, because you would think there being a 500-mile race, this would be all over. So just to show you, Florida 200-mile race across Florida 200. So they have this multiple years, and 120 miles of trails, 40 dirt roads. And you can see that there's older videos associated with it. But yeah, that did not work. I'm actually curious if that other race exists too, or if both of them were a hallucination. And then it says over here, the first time I read this over here, so take a look at this. Beyond the mileage, runners face extreme heat, busy highways and bridges, including the 7 miles in the Keys. But is Jacksonville Beach all the way to Key West even 500 miles? Let's see. Jacksonville Beach, because there's a race called the Keys 100, and it's 100 miles, just the Keys alone to Key West. Maybe that's the bottom, which I've never been to the Keys. Oh, it is 500 miles. Okay, so that actually is correct. I didn't expect that to be 400 and then 100 over there. Regardless, never heard of that race. It should have been the 200 miler across Florida. So that's incorrect. The other one it says over here is Ultra Fest. So it says it's 6-day race. So let's see if that's actually accurate. And you can see 144 hours. It's right over here in Ultra Sign Up. So Ultra Sign Up should be kind of like the source of truth, because they have all these ultra marathons. It won't have everything, but again, just to show you one last time that this is not there, we'll put FX 500 or Florida Extreme 500. We'll see if it's there. And you can see like there is nothing on here for Florida Extreme 500. You have Wild Florida, Roots, Florida Death Race, Across Florida, Dirt Circus, Forgotten Florida, Florida 48. So nice little hallucination there. Okay, I spent too much time on that example, but we're going to go to the second one. Who won the 2024 World Series? So we'll paste that in, and should be fairly accurate. I want to see the Dodgers won last year, if I remember correctly. They won 2 years in a row. Yep, there you go. 5 games, Freddie Freeman MVP. Okay, and so that's correct. And that's a pretty easy question. What is the latest Opeth album? So let's check this one out. And this is where I don't think it has the 2025 cutoff, because when I ran this the first time, it says it's an upcoming album, which is not true. So we'll see if it actually does this again. And maybe I should have screenshotted it just in case you don't believe me. But I'm really hoping we get the same results. So we'll run it a third time. And yeah, after that, we'll move into our next example, which is going to look at image analysis. So that'll be fun. I don't know why this is taking a little bit longer right now, but we'll fast forward when it's ready. Okay, so here we go. Opeth's latest album is Last Will of Testament, and it says release date is scheduled to release November 22nd. So take a look at that. It's scheduled to be released. So it obviously has released. So I don't think that 2025 window is correct. So yeah, there's a perfect clear example of data from November. Technically isn't populated yet because it says to be released November 22nd, 2024. So always take these, oh, we've we've trained on data all the way through January 25. Every company does this. I would just take that knowledge cutoff date and say it's about like 2 or 3 months, a little bit earlier, because there's always stuff missing. But I always find that a little bit misleading, because you think you're working with a model as 2020 up to January 2025, but like this just shows that's not the case. Okay, so now let's jump into image analysis. So we're going to actually go through 2 different examples of this. I actually had this for a customer of mine. So he wanted me to take a look at image quality as well as if there's a person in an image or not. So we have 2 different images over here, as well as if there's a person in an image in both of these. This is my first time running this as well, so it could just crash and fail on me. But let me show you what these look like. So this is just a running image. You can see it's very blurry. And then we have this image over here where these people are running Badwater 135, and this is a good image. So I'm just going to save both these images, and then we'll run these one at a time. All right, and then in analyze an image, well, let's rewrite this over here. I'm also going to just put my Gemini account. I'm going to say, is this image blurry? Return only yes or no. So we'll paste in that image over here and go through it. So let's first on form submission, we'll execute that workflow. We will drag in an image. This is our non-blurry image, so we're going to submit that. Cool. And obviously this hasn't attached yet, but we have our binary file. Then what we're going to do is we're going to have to pass this in. So input type, we're just going to say binary file. We're going to grab upload a file like this. And we have other options over here, length of description, max tokens, things like that. Maybe that is pretty good. Maybe we'll just put like 8, should be like yes or no. But we'll execute this step. You know what? I'm going to remove this max tokens and we're going to execute this step. And you can see text, it says no. So that's not blurry. The first one worked correct. Let's jump into our second example now. So we're just going to execute this workflow again. We're going to drag in the blurry image so you can see it's very blurry. We're going to click submit. And hopefully this one populates as yes. And then you can see on this one, it says yes. So like these were pretty basic examples, just taking a look at these images. Like that's super blurry. This isn't blurry, although the quality isn't that great, but it performed that action correctly. Now I want to take a look if there's a person in an image. So we have 2 more. Instead of is this image blurry, only return, I'm going to say, is there a person? Is there a person in this image? Return only yes or no. And we're going to use these 2 images. So we have this first one over here, someone running a race called the Moab 240. And then we have the second one over here, which is just the Moab. So I'll save both of these and we'll do the same test. Test these out. So the first one over here has a person in the image. We're going to click submit and it's going to go over here. And it says, yes, there's someone in the image. And then let's take a look at our second example, which has no one in the image. Again, it's just Moab. And this one actually got it wrong. So you can see that this is Moab. Well, actually it did get it correct. Look at that. I missed this when I downloaded the image. There's a tiny person right over there. And I'm going to keep this in the video because this is actually really cool. Small person, huge image, one like that is so small and it actually picked it up. And I didn't even see it initially and it did. So that's actually pretty incredible. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to extract information from text. So there's actually a node here in n8n called the information extractor. I recently covered this on the channel, so highly recommend you check out that video. Image will be on the screen right now. But what this can do is it takes a large piece of information such as this over here, and we can actually define what we want to extract from this text. So I'm actually teaching a customer how to do this with medical information right now. So what we have on this side of things is an initiative. So name of the initiative, a project leader who's leading the project, and then a budget for phase 1 of this project. All the text over here, by the way, I just generated it with ChatGPT. And I asked obviously for the answers for these 3 over here. So what we're going to do is just test this with the model. And what I'll do is just go over here and I'll say execute step. I'll run it again just because I don't have a trigger and it's going to give me that error. This might take a second, but you can see over here, Green Horizon, Dr. Elena, and 480 million. So Green Horizon, Dr. Lena, and 480 million. So that's our information extractor. Obviously, this wasn't a ton of text. I mean, it's a good amount. You can see on there. I would obviously want to test it with larger documents, but just for this prototype for the video, I think it's adequate. And lastly, what we're going to do is a longer content summarization. So I've shown this in a few other of the AI node videos, but this is just a small article/book about cards produced in Malta. It's 33 pages. There's a lot of images in here, and you can see tons of images. So we're going to upload this, and all we're going to do is run the analyze a document. So all you do is say analyze document, summarize the following text into several bullet points with simple wording, and we'll just upload that as a binary file. So let's do that really quick. I'm going to click execute workflow. It's going to ask for this file. So this is the PDF. I'm going to click submit, probably a little bit pricey. And obviously this isn't going to work because a different name, but that's fine. So make sure binary file name matches 1-to-1 over there, a little bit of a quirk. Okay, so the node's done, and we're going to read through this. So just quickly skimming through, everything looks correct. You know, we took a 30-page document and we just have this basic summary over here. You can see /n, which will give us a new line. And yeah, this looks pretty good. And also what's kind of cool is we have these thought signatures as talked about a little bit earlier in those specific slides. So that is Gemini 3 Pro here in n8n. So again, very simple to set up. Hopefully you got that set up with me in Google AI Studio. Make sure you add in credits. You can use this in AI node. You can also, you can use this in any of the different AI nodes to ask for a chat model. Most popular is AI agent, but there's a lot of other AI nodes here in n8n. Gemini has a range of nodes. Showed you those. If you want some of the features that aren't in n8n yet, make sure you use an HTTP request, although I bet you within a week or two, this is all built into n8n, so this will be kind of useless. Remember, temperature is now useless with this in particular model. It's most likely trained up to like October, maybe November of 2024, not that January 2025. And it's really good at image analysis. So I showed you two examples, blurry or a good image, or if there's a person. In fact, I messed up and I thought image didn't have a person and Gemini detected it. Next, we covered extracting information from a long piece of text. Obviously, I would like to test this out on longer text, but for the video that did its purpose. And then lastly, we summarized a 33-page document over here, upload the PDF, and we got a quick summary. So that is Gemini 3. What are you guys using it for? Feel free to put that down below in the comment section. Also, if you want to join our school community, it's linked down below. Would love to have you a part of it. If you're learning n8n, listen, I have, I think, almost 60 videos in a playlist right now. We're going to put that on the screen. So I recommend you check that out. Try to keep it in a particular order, how I'd recommend you learn everything. So watch those videos, learn a little bit, and I will catch you guys in another one.